Hello, everyone. We're your host, Grant, Cohn and Jack Hammer. Today, we usually do the Cohn Zone with my dad, but he couldn't make it today. He'll be back later this week. Don't worry. Anyway, Jack, how are you?
I'm doing really good. How you doing, Grant?
I'm doing really good, too. We have a lot to talk about, mostly quarterback stuff, which is my favorite. The title of the show is Should Lance Start Against the Cardinals, which is a juicy topic, and we're going to build up. Let's start with our thoughts on Lance against the Seahawks. And keep in mind, Jack and I haven't gotten the coach's film yet. We'll have a more informed take later on this week, but we also were right there in the press box. Jack, what did you think?
I thought it looked a lot like what we saw of him in the preseason. It seemed very similar, struggle early on against when Seattle was really getting after him with different looks in the secondary. And then when the game was no longer in doubt and they kind of just sat back in a zone, whether it was 3 or 2, he was able to make some plays and he did a good job. Overall, I would say that it was a decent outing for a guy making his first game in a lot, of extended playing time in a regular season game. I'm not as excited maybe as some other folks just because I didn't see it when the game was still in doubt.
Here's where I think he showed improvement from preseason. Using his athleticism, like not getting sacked 4 times. When he kept getting sacked in the first preseason game, I forget who was it against, Kansas City? I kept being like, what are you doing? I understand if Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard and Jimmy Garoppolo stand there and go down, but not you, dude. You gotta get the hell out of there. And at least as the game went on, he kept saying, oh, there's an opening, I can go there. So that was nice. But as far as like quarterback polish, look, he's a hard worker. So I'm not saying that he's dogging it and he's doing what they're putting in front of him. What the hell are they doing with him? What the hell have they been doing with Trey Lance the last 6 months? Because what it looked like on the field was, nothing really. He's the backup quarterback, and we'll get to him down the line. But for right now, it looks like they haven't really. Not one thing has he improved on since he came to this team. I guess what I'm saying.
No, and you're right. He looks like the guy that we saw on film that we broke down. I know we did a couple of breakdowns on him, and I did a whole bunch of them.
Ago.
Right, and he looked like that same guy. I mean, yeah. And I understand. One of the knocks on this game was, I think you mentioned it. He's a rookie. He's coming into this game. The game plan's not set up for him, and what have you.
He didn't even know he was coming in until like the end of halftime, which is weird too. Yeah,
sure. But then so it's fine. The first series they just hand off the ball, but then the first play is a first play looks like his college tape. It's play action rolling out to his right, and he has George Kittle open in the flat, and he throws it at his feet and behind him. That's Kyle Shanahan can't make it any easier for the poor kid on that one, and we saw that on his tape from North Dakota State. And the good thing about it, he has those plays, but he also has some of the more polished plays. Like, I wouldn't say polished plays, but the more exciting plays where you're talking about, where he's using his legs, and you have to give him credit for that. He definitely did a good job of avoiding the rush and moving around. And we'll have a better look at that when we look at the coach's film as to if that was all necessary.
There's also more I want to say. I'm encouraged by what he showed because I love his athleticism, and I wouldn't minimize it. It's a big asset at that position. It's everything I think it is. I know he's not probably a 4.4 runner, but he really can break tackles. He can avoid sacks. I think he's a good fit for this offensive line because pass protection isn't their thing. What else did I want? I felt like he had a positive. Here's what I want to say. I know he fell behind partially when he went down by 2 scores because of Trenton Cannon. That really hurt, although he did get that touchdown right back with the touchdown throw to Deebo Samuel. But I thought that the defense played him differently. And the way I look at it is like they averaged more yards per play with him on the field and more yards per carry. Let's just look at the running game. Let's just look at because the throw down to Deebo kind of skewed the numbers. But the running game in and of itself, 5.1 yards per carry with Lance on the field, 4.7 with Jimmy. It seems like Lance almost functions as another blocker because when he's under center, the defense is worried about him booting out. And when he's in the gun, the defense is worried about him keeping it and running. It seems like that's just a nice effect that he has against defenses, and that only helps your offense, even though he's the rawest quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it works when they're going against a team that's prepared for them a little bit. If he is and we'll get into this with the next question, if he is indeed going to be the one that plays next week against Arizona or what have you, the preparation that they're able to put into him, if that's going to help them on the running side, because the 49ers ran the ball really good on Sunday, even before. But you're right, he definitely, there was one really nice run there by Sermon early on in the time that he's in there. When you watch it even on the TV clip of the game, you can see that one of the linebackers have his eyes on Lance, step to his left, and that allows Sermon to gain a couple more yards.
I think what we're going to see, this is theoretical, but theoretically, what we should see with Lance in the game, even inexperienced Lance, is what I would call a softer box. Partially because he can throw deep and they're going to take those shots, but also because, again, on the stretch zone stuff, you don't block the backside defensive end. And if it's Garoppolo, I think you're less concerned about that boot back to your side than if it's Lance. So that'll create a softer box on those plays. And then in the zone, on the shotgun running game, that's pretty self-explanatory how he can open up space on that stuff. I think theoretically that should help the running game, which will help.
Yeah, and I'm with you. In theory, that's the case, and that was part of I said that before the season, and we didn't see that early on in the first couple of games, but we'll see how it progresses now when he's in the game in a regular setting. When they're just throwing him out there on the field for 1 and 2 plays, you don't get the whole experience of what you're talking about as far as being able to really stretch the defense, because they're going to have to. They're mostly just zoning in on him in those situations in his running. So this might help that out a little bit, if that's the case.
Final thing, and then we'll move on. I think what we'll see is just the way defenses react differently to the two quarterbacks. They're going to rush him differently than they rush Garoppolo, because as you saw, as the game went on, he kept breaking out of the pocket. And that's when he's going to have his biggest plays. So I think what you're going to see is defenses slow down their pass rush and make it more of once they get burned by a couple first downs of him running, they'll say, whoa. We're going to keep you in the pocket. We're not going to blitz you. We're going to make you go 1 to 2 to 3 and show that you can go through coverages and from the pocket. And at least he'll have a slowed down pass. Theoretically, that's what happened with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. They're like, whoa, we don't need to rush this guy. We need to keep him right here and not let him escape. I could help him. I'm just saying, this is all theoretical. This is all theoretical.
No, yeah, totally. But and the only thing I'll say on the other side of that, and I do agree with some of what you're saying, that could be, in theory, that could be what happens. Was it's similar to, say that, I know you're using Lamar Jackson. Let's use Russell Wilson.
Okay,
he's same kind of, because I think he's a little bit more like Russell Wilson. He's going to bounce around in the pocket and move, and that's part of what Wilson does. And the whole deal with Wilson, you can get after him fast as long as your guys stay where they're supposed to stay.
Yes.
And we saw that on Sunday. Yeah. They did a much better job of rushing in their lanes and sticking to them. And so it'll be interesting to see. I think it's a really good starting point going up against Arizona if he does start on Sunday, because that's a really good defensive line that theoretically can show us right off the bat if that's going to be the case or not.
Okay, let's move on. Garoppolo has a calf injury, and it's weird because they said he injured it on the first drive of the game. That was his best drive, and he didn't play particularly well after that, but he did run around a lot. He looked mobile and spry the rest of the first half. But then he said he thought he was going to miss a couple of weeks after the game. He looked like he was almost in tears. Yesterday on the phone, Kyle Shanahan said, that's just a contusion, and if it feels a little bit better, we'd like him to play. So mixed messages. Kind of strange. Do you feel like there's some gamesmanship? I mean, obviously in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, now he's making Arizona prepare for both. Is that what you think is happening here?
It could be. It's interesting. You and I had the conversation about the shoulder injury for Williams as well, right? Because remember, they originally said that was an elbow, and then you find out after the game it's a shoulder. So what's going on with Garoppolo? Is it really his calf? Is he really hurt?
Someone asked him, is it your Achilles? He's like, well, we'll have to wait and see on the MRI. I hope not.
Right. Yeah. He definitely made it sense. He definitely made it sound like he was going to be out for a couple of weeks.
Didn't the Warriors call Kevin Durant's Achilles injury, like before he popped his Achilles? Wasn't it a calf injury?
It was.
Okay.
It was. Right. It was a calf injury.
So there's precedent.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's why the question was there. So it just seems weird. It seems odd that they would go from I'm going to be out for a couple of weeks, where the player is saying that, to then the coach coming out on Monday and saying, "Oh, it's just a contusion and he should be able to go." He could, we'll find out on Wednesday if he can go. So from a gamesmanship standpoint, if you force, Arizona to work on two quarterbacks for the first 2 days of the week, make them wait until Wednesday afternoon before they figure out what's going on, that's a couple of days. And that fits in with what Shanahan's been doing this entire season and off season.
Absolutely. Work against Detroit, 41 points. Maybe it'll work in this game. I don't know if it's gamesmanship or if it's a little bit of a game of chicken between Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo. I couldn't help but notice how different their tone was. Jimmy really sounded freaked by it. Like, you were there. Did he not seem like he was like, man, it's getting a little old going through this every year? Like,
yeah.
Oh, no,
it definitely. Yeah, no, it definitely seemed like he was emotional about what was going on, and whether it was the fact that he was truly injured or the fact that maybe he was feeling he was going to lose his job, right? So that's the only thing.
Good point. That's a good point. But then when Kyle comes out and says it's a calf contusion, I didn't have a tone when he said it, but the words calf contusion create the impression that it's not serious, right? What the hell?
Right.
I don't even know what that is. Like,
it's a bruise. A contusion is a bruise. Yeah.
So you're not going to play because of a bruise?
Well,
it sounds soft.
No, there's varying degrees of contusions. I mean,
it just sounds like he's downplaying it. Like, why would you do that? Why are you doing that? So are you trying to like push him to play? Hey, man, it's not that big of a deal.
And that's a good point. Maybe maybe the gamesmanship is going on in the building. Like, hey, buddy, you're okay to play. You don't need to just sit out and
don't just give the job to Trey Lance. We're paying you. We don't think he's ready. What the hell? Like, you don't just sit down. What is this? So I don't know. I think it's very interesting. The fact that once again there's mixed messages in the organization. My antenna always go up, because usually what football teams are really good at is having one message. I mean, good teams, they work hard at it. Right?
Yeah.
And this team is really all year. It's been like, one thing here, one thing here. Actually, I said this. You thought I said that? Well, I've been really clear all year that I said this. Anyway, I like it.
Yeah, no, they've been all over the place this year.
Yeah. Okay, so definitely gamesmanship, but it's hard to say what the game is.
There's who knows? There's so much going on with this scenario. It's quite interesting to watch.
Yeah, my dad and I call Kyle Shanahan the Hamlet of Santa Clara, because he just can't make up his mind. He's constantly doing the to be or not to be soliloquy.
There you go.
What should I do? I don't freaking know. Should I do that? I don't know. Maybe you'll figure it out this week. All right, we got to answer some questions. Kyle Shanahan himself says, "Okay, Grant, me versus you for head coach. Let's throw down." I don't want your job, man. You do the job. I'm just vice president, general manager, quality control, offensive coordinator, and play caller. You can do the other thing. That's all I want is the other stuff. We can split it. Keldon says, "I've been a Jimmy defender. It's Lance time." Well, that's the next topic. We're getting there. AFC West and NFC West are similar, with Chiefs last place at 2-2 record, and Niners are in the same circumstance. Is it too late or playoffs? Oh, that's also a topic. Double B Studio. Don't worry. We're going to talk about the odds of making the playoffs. This is a perfect opportunity for the Niners start trade this week and go back to Jimmy if he is not ready. That's one way to look at it. That's our next topic. We're getting there. You can already see how Jack's leading. Not yet. We're almost there. Schuler says Skyler. That's why I said Schooler. Skyler Whitehead says, in a perfect world, what has to happen for Trey to solidify his spot and force Kyle and John to trade Jimmy for assets for a deep run? Well, he would have to get an opportunity to start, and he would have to knock it out of the park. And I'm not sure he's going to get that opportunity before the trade deadline, although he might. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, he would have to play so much better than he played this last game. Do you see any similarities between Cap and Lance? Yes. Should the Niners deploy Lance like they did with Cap in 2020? I see a lot of similarities. The way I know you thought of Nick Mullins. There are similarities because it's the same regime, but I went back to 2012 with Kaepernick coming in for Alex Smith. It was very similar to me. A lot of scrambling. Maybe Kaepernick even seemed a little bit more polished as a quarterback. It was his second year. He was about 25 years old, 24.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good one for the way that they played in that game.
Yeah.
The reason I did the Mullins one was just because it happened last year against Seattle.
Yeah.
That was the only thing.
That was good.
with that. But no, I understand where you're going, because in that game when he came in, the offense had been moving at a pretty good rate in that game against the Rams when Kaepernick came in, and it just things like you could see that it wasn't working out the way that it
really
should.
prepared, and they weren't really prepared for him, but he wasn't bad either. I remember you go back and you're thinking it was actually kind of encouraging and impressive given the circumstances. And then maybe next week, if he gets a full game plan, he'll be better than he was. Mm-hmm. So if you want to look at the bright side here with Trey Lance, that did happen with Colin Kaepernick. Now, Kaepernick's career never developed the way it should have. I do think Trey Lance is a harder working person who likes football more, although he's very, very young. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Good question, Batman. Is that his name? Batman?
Yeah, Batman.
That's it. Okay, let's move on. This is the question. Jack, which quarterback should Kyle Shanahan start against the Arizona Cardinals, and why?
This one all goes back to if Garoppolo is fully healthy, I probably would start Garoppolo if he's fully healthy. That's just me basing my opinion off of what we've seen with the offense with both these guys in the game.
Okay.
And whatnot, and kind of where I think Shanahan wants to go. But I will say that if Garoppolo's not fully healthy, then he should not be put in the game. It would be similar to the Miami situation last year. If he cannot go out and function at the best of his ability, then keep him off the field. Go ahead and let Trey Lance play this game. And if Lance goes out and plays the way that they expect him to, as if the guy that they took at number 3, then that changes how you go through the rest of the season. We've talked all along that the way that this is going to happen, either Garoppolo's got to play really bad or he's got to be hurt. If he's hurt, opens the door. And if he goes out there and just completely tanks it, then you make a change. You go back to him after the bye, because you can say he's had a couple of weeks off.
It's a tough one because I really thought he played really well against the Packers, especially after watching it on film. Taking the stats out of it, thought he played his ass off against the Packers. One of his best performances ever, considering where he's at in his career. Mm-hmm. But then against the Seahawks, man, if I didn't know that he was hurt, I thought he deserved to get benched. I think he was awful after the first drive. Now, if he was hurt, and that explains it, and he could come back and be 100% healthy this week, then I get you. I don't necessarily agree with it. I would have been starting Trey the whole way. But I see where you're coming from. I do. I just feel like there's no way he's 100% healthy this week. Like what Kyle is saying essentially is like, if he can gut it out, I want him to. If it's a little bit better by Wednesday, he should be able to make enough progress to gut it out like a starting quarterback would. Nah, dude, no. I don't want 75% Jimmy starting against Arizona. I don't want 90% Jimmy starting against Arizona, because that is a ferocious pass rush, and he can't move theoretically. I mean, he'll be less mobile theoretically if he has a calf injury that he's got. No, dude. No, I don't like that at all. No, I don't like it at all.
Yeah, and I know where you're coming from. I mean, in some ways, but that first series was really good. He kind of had, then he had the really bad interception, and then they had the really nice drive that ended up in the missed field goal. And I think on that drive you had the sack that really killed it, right? It killed that possession. They had it second and short, I think it was, or second and 8 or something like that, and he gets sacked on a ball that there's just it's bad. The way the play just didn't work out the way that it was designed, and he gets sacked, and now he gets pushed back and what have you. So, who knows? I mean, he's a guy who we've seen play up and down throughout the course of a game. He'd started out hot, and who knows what he would have done in the second half. I would have felt more comfortable with him in the second half coming out, especially getting the ball. So who knows where they are if he plays in the second half of that game. But I agree with you. I mean, just the numbers show it. The numbers show that he was really good at the beginning, and he fell off. He was, I think, 8 of 17 after that point for the rest of the half. So the numbers show that he wasn't playing at quite the high level. And I don't know if we have a topic here to talk about how part of like what led to that loss, but we'll get to it.
Yeah. Look, it seems to me that the offense with Jimmy Garoppolo, we've seen it for 4 games, and it has a structure. He can function in the offense much better than Trey Lance. I mean, goes with the ball where it should go on time most of the time, and the structure of this offense is just mediocre. And it's not necessarily his fault. But there's nothing he can do to overcome the mediocreness of this offense that Kyle Shanahan has constructed.
Sure.
Lance, when he's on the field, is just chaos, of course. But his chaos is effective. They move the ball. He doesn't turn it over. And to me, I think we've been saying this for a while, the offense would need to be much more effective. The offense, not Jimmy. The offense needs to be more effective with Jimmy on the field than with Lance on the field to justify not putting Lance out there, because there is something to be gained from him getting experience. And if he's costing you wins that you would otherwise get with Jimmy Garoppolo, by all means, play Jimmy. But I still haven't seen the evidence that's happening yet. And I think if the Niners had started Trey from week 1, there's a good chance they'd still be 2-2 right now, which is my problem with starting Jimmy Garoppolo anymore this year.
Yep. I mean, I don't totally. I'm in the boat of where I can agree with you and disagree with you. I'm kind of in
Jack's mind here. We're just trying to express both sides of the coin.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's answer some questions. 112 Music says we're not going to prevent Arizona from putting up points. Jimmy G is going to lose any shootout. Well, Trey Lance is running right now, so it's hard to win a shootout when you're running. Well, usually.
Yeah, we can't. I don't think we have anything to say that there's nothing we can fall back on that's going to show that Trey Lance is going to win a shootout. He's never done it in college, let alone in the NFL.
Yeah. I just hate to think what would happen to less than injured, but playing Jimmy Garoppolo against that defense. I mean, he didn't make it through against Seattle. That's a bad defense. That's the worst defense in the league, or down there. Arizona, yeah. Yeah,
the injury stuff is going to happen regardless, and that's definitely the knock on Garoppolo.
And I feel like we've spent hours, days discussing the pros and cons, the merits, the weaknesses, the strengths of Jimmy. I think it's really as simple as he can't stay healthy. He's not a starting quarterback. When he does play, he wins, and he's a great story, but the injury's coming, and you can't hitch your wagon to that. End of story. That's why the Patriots let him go, I think. And now they got a guy who's a lot like Jimmy, but he doesn't have that injury issue. So they're probably pretty happy.
Yeah.
Can we please fix our special teams? No. We have to have this issue every year. We don't have a proper kick returner, punt returner, and now a kicker. I thought Ayuk was doing pretty well until he, almost got his head taken off on that punt returner and almost made me delete a lot of tweets. So thanks, Grady.
Yeah, that was a shot. His helmet came flying off, and
that was everybody. Dante Pettis punt return right there, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, that was a rough one.
I
agree with things. Yeah, I agree with what he's saying though. The special teams is something that I talked about before. The kickoff return game has been awful for the 49ers. They can't even usually get the ball passed back to the 25 if they return a kickoff. And Trenton Cannon on Sunday was really something.
75% Jimmy equals 100% Mullins.
Okay.
75% Jimmy isn't a quarterback I like to watch, man. He really. Here's the thing. He said it like. It's not just that he can't move. It's that he'll have even less velocity on his throws. He can't push off. It's all upper body at this point.
Yeah, that's how most of his throws are to begin with. And that's part of why his balls flutter as much as they do.
He said he gets most of his power from his calf. I want to be like, what power? I'm sorry, what? Mario says we have not seen Lance for a full game. Give Lance a full week with the ones in practice, and I think he will do great. Lance can extend the plays. Well, we'll see what happens this week. I'm really curious. I don't totally disagree with that thought. I mean, I understand where they come from. If like Shanahan said yesterday, he expects Lance to practice prepare like he's the starter week in, week out, right, regardless of whether he's starting or not. The difference is if he's going to be expected to start this week, he's going to be getting the snaps, not just the mental reps in practice. Right.
Can he be the guy that? This is where it gets really interesting, and we get into the conversation about, Shanahan that we're going to get into, because if everybody is expecting Lance to give them something that they're not getting right now, and what happens if it doesn't?
Right. Lance will start on Sunday, and the rest will be history. Those are two very interesting predictions. The way I look at it, I think the way I would do it if I were Kyle Shanahan or if I were the head coach, I would start Lance because that way going into the bye week, you can actually have a real evaluation. You can make a decision moving forward, having seen Lance perform with a full week's preparation, with the full game plan. And if he still looks, way not ready, then everyone will understand. But to go back to Jimmy here and then to maybe maybe Jimmy doesn't make it through again because he's playing poorly or he's hurt, he's freaking injured, and you got to go back to Lance and he still hasn't prepared and he looks kind of shaky still. Now what do you do at the bye week? It's a hard I don't know. I think it's a tough decision at the bye week. Got a big decision to make at the bye week.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's like like you said, that's a good point. You go into this and you play Lance, and it gives you a full game of tape film.
You're going to lose either way. I'm just saying.
And that's the thing,
Yeah.
and that's where the decision gets hard from Shanahan. Is this is a divisional game. If your expectation is you're going to try to compete for a playoff spot, this is a game that I think has definitely become a must win for them in a lot of ways. And so, do you forgo that to potentially grow your team for next year?
Yeah. Well, okay. Look, Lance. Oh, okay. Do you think he will? Let me put it this way: who's going to start after the bye week, in your opinion?
Well, I think that depends on on this game, right? Okay. If they start Garoppolo and he plays poorly and he just gets beat up or whatever, then it might be Lance coming out of it. Or if you start Lance and he tanks, then it's probably going to be Garoppolo. I just think there's a lot that decide. This is a very interesting game for, I think.
Is that the worst case scenario if you start Lance and he tanks, because then all of a sudden you end up going back and forth?
Absolutely, I think if you start him and he just and
it's right. Because it's the Cardinals. Yeah.
It's the Cardinals.
JJ Watt. This is serious.
This is the worst. It's probably the toughest defense that he can of what they faced so far that they can throw him in against. And if he goes out there,
giving you your first start against Detroit, we thought Arizona would be the way to go. Go get it. So it's on the line. Thanks, Trey. We don't believe in you really that much, but our whole season's on the line. So if you can go out and just knock this one out, we really appreciate it.
Yeah. There you go.
Trey. Yeah. Now go get him. The best teacher is experienced. Start Trey. Man, they got a decision to make. It's hard. It's tough. We're gonna get to some more stuff in a second. There's
the only thing on the
what?
Well, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the only thing, and I tweeted this out today, and I understand the people that are saying that the experience stuff with Lance, but there's a reason. I think the plan had been to sit Lance, and Lance didn't play as a freshman at North Dakota State.
Oh, right.
I shouldn't even say that he didn't play because he did. They used him pretty much the same way the 49ers have used him so far in the first couple of games. He played a few snaps here and there and ran a couple balls in for touchdowns, but he wasn't playing all that much, and he came out in his first full season, and he was the best offensive player in the FCS. Led him to a championship, and
that's a good point.
Great things, I
got something to say about that too. Remember Nick Mullins? He was on the practice squad playing safety, and he was famously preparing himself. Remember, he would get the game plan. He would go out. I don't know what day it was. I mean, after the game, it might have been right after the game, and he would walk through the whole game for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, and he would go through and do all the different checks versus the different coverages. Legendary. There are things you can do to prepare yourself, but what I'd like to say is, again, this is not a Trey issue. This is a 49ers issue. It's also the coaches. And when Nick Mullins was telling that story back in the day, I always want to be like, that's great. Where are your coaches, man? Why do you have to do this by yourself? I know on other teams, they have Tuesdays where a quarterback coach will go out with their backup quarterbacks and do this stuff. They'll go through the whole game, 90 minutes, an hour and a half or two. Who's doing this with Trey? Because it looked like no one's doing this with Trey. I'm sorry. Maybe they are. But Scangarello, you should be doing this with Trey every Tuesday. And it should show when Trey plays. I'm not saying you're not, but it looks like you're not. So,
yeah.
These are things where's the development, yo? On the scout team?
Oh, and that's an interesting point that you made. On scout team, you're running the plays of the other team. And quite frankly, I think that Nick Mullins probably got a lot more out of playing free safety than he would have gotten out of playing and going against his defense, just seeing the plays from that angle, than running the scout team offense.
That's a great point. Yep.
Just from my own experience and what I've seen.
So again, if the Niners want to develop Trey Lance over the long haul on the bench, do it. But develop him. That's one way. Yeah. I like to be concrete and have suggestions. Do it that way. Mullins had to do it by himself, which makes me feel like, what's up with Trey, man? Because he definitely looks like a guy who hasn't been doing things like that. He had no idea where to go with the ball. He should have when he's on the field, it should look like he knows where his check down is. He didn't look like he knew where his check. Did it look like he knew where his check down was, Jack? Did it look like he had any freaking clue what to do with the ball?
No, it looked like he looked like a chicken with his head cut off.
And honestly, that's a bad look for Rich Scangarello, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel. It's a bad look for Trey. But Trey's a hardworking 21-year-old. You understand it to a certain extent. Where is the coaching? Where is what's the word? I don't know.
It's the development. There's the coaching, whatever. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about. Yeah, and there's been talk about his, the work that he's done on his mechanics and stuff like that. But quite frankly, he spent a year working on his mechanics, and he looks like the same guy that he looked like in 2019.
Thank you. So, okay, and let's okay. That's a nice transition to Kyle Shanahan. We're not here to dump on him, but we would like to at least point out that it seems like Niner fans are starting to do that a whole lot more than they used to in the past. It used to be you couldn't really criticize Kyle Shanahan for 4 years. 4 years. But now he loses one game this year and the gloves are off, and 2 in a row, and Niner fans are over it. Are you surprised? Are you amused? What do you think?
No, it's this whole thing has been set up for being set up by the fact that they made a move for his quarterback finally, and
so we think.
Right, and I've been very critical of Shanahan for years, and I've been getting on Twitter and stuff like that, and articles and been ripped for what I've been saying, and we're seeing it all play out in front of the 49ers. Think about this for a second. I mean, I saw this yesterday, and it makes a ton of sense. The guy out in Chicago has a better winning record than Shanahan does, and he's the guy that everybody wants to fire.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Shanahan's out here just, if his name was Kyle Fitzgerald, this is a completely different conversation.
Absolutely. And I think Niner fans are starting to get that. And they're like, they trusted him the first 3 years because he inherited a mess. He did good in Atlanta, and his name is Shanahan. And Mike Shanahan won the last Super Bowl here. And it felt good after those years of having freaking Chip Kelly and his rinky-dink college offense, and, Mike Singletary and like the Chicago Bears years of like at least embracing your history. It felt right. And man, now it's like, dude, is this guy just not a head coach? Is he just like is he a play caller or a play designer, but just not, has he been? I think a lot of people are starting to ask the questions that we've been asking for years. And, he could win a lot of games this year and answer those questions. But right now, he's looking shaky. And I think the shakiest thing about him is his offense. We have all these questions about his leadership because I don't think he's a leader. But, dude, what's your offense? Where is the offense? And, when we were back at you're at the PD now. When I was at the PD, we used to talk about the fact that he has a good offense like one every 4 years. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly right. He's been in the league 13 years now. He's only had his offenses have scored in the top half of the league. That's not even a big mark. Top half, 4 times, and I don't understand. I think here's where all the positive stuff with Shanahan comes from. Other than he's got, not only does he have the Shanahan last name, but think about how many people that are commentators around the NFL played for his dad. So they have so it goes beyond that. So like the guy that did the game on Sunday, I think it was Schlereth, right? I think the color guy. So of course, that guy won 2 Super Bowls with Kyle's dad. So everything about Shanahan to him is football royalty,
because he won a Super Bowl with Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, and same thing.
Kyle. Yeah,
and he's not on. He doesn't. he's had questions about the quarterback, why he's not starting Lance, but
He doesn't
he's
call
more
out Kyle.
no, not at
No,
all.
no.
No, and it's
Very interesting.
there's plenty of things to call him out for. There's times there's certain things that I'll defend him on, but there's a lot of things to call him out for sure.
So here's the way I look at it. The hot seat conversation. It's interesting because, like, what the hell is a hot seat? And there is no definition. But it seems to me that the heat, if there is such a thing, is generated by the fans. It's the pressure is coming from the fans, the heat. And we'll see what happens. Right now, it's surprisingly hot. It's lukewarm, but it's surprisingly hot for a guy who was 2-2. I mean, he's 2-2 right now. He is 31-37, but he's still 2-2. He could be 3-2 next week, although he won't be. I'm just saying it's real early in the season. And I feel like this is what happened with Niner fans and Jimmy last year. As soon as he lost week 1, they were like, dude, we're tired of you. And I didn't realize it was bubbling under the surface like that, but it was. Niner fans were like, last straw with Jimmy, apparently. Mm-hmm. Now they're there with Kyle. It's like, man, we've had it. We've given you our patience. Now we need you to reward us for our patience now. And I don't know if he can. I don't know. This is a weird year. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of injured players. A lot of injured. I made a long list, but we can get to that later. Hell of a lot of injured players.
Well, he put himself in this situation with the trade to get the quarterback that he wanted, and then he made it even worse by not playing that guy and going with, yeah, right, exactly what he wanted. Who knows if it was really Lance? But he gets a quarterback at least anyway. There's a new quarterback in town. And everybody wants to get rid of Garoppolo anyway, but then he comes out and says, no, I'm starting Garoppolo. And so already half your fan base is ticked off because they want to get rid of Garoppolo. The other half is like, you better win with them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but this better work. And now Kyle's in this strange limbo. So I think it's very obvious why the shine is coming off Kyle Shanahan. I also don't think he's handled the whole year with that much grace. I mean, he started off with, I'll never forget the press conference before the draft where he comes out and he's like, when I'm at Safeway, when I'm at my kids' soccer games, we got to just leave me alone. Like, that's such an all-time quote. That's just an all-time quote. I love that. So good. So good.
Yeah.
It's so real, dude. I'm sure people have been doing that to him. So real. He had to say, like, oh my God. The meat guy, the butcher is telling me not to draft Mac Jones. I'm like, oh, God. Yeah, dude. Sorry, Kyle. You gotta be more like, charming. Charming. Exactly. Try it.
Yeah.
Yeah. People might like you more. I don't know. All right. So that's what's going on with Kyle.
I understand that. Sometimes I need to be a little more charming.
Yeah. All right. We're going to answer your questions in a second. We just got a couple more things to talk about. If the Niners miss the playoffs, put it this way. If the Niners miss the playoffs, I think most of us expect someone to get fired. We don't know who. So let's go with that premise. If the Niners miss the playoffs, should they fire John Lynch and replace him with a stronger general manager? Remember, the Niners hired Shanahan first, and he hired Lynch as sort of like someone who will give him what he wants and do the talking and put a good face on things. Mm-hmm. Not exactly a strong general manager. A strong general manager is what they have, in LA. He hired McVay and they worked together.
Correct. I think if they miss the playoffs, I think that it would be a good opportunity for them to move on from Lynch. There's going to have to be, if they miss the playoffs again, there's going to have to be some kind of changes here. And moving on from Lynch is a little bit easier at this point than doing it with Shanahan. But in order to do that, I think they've got to bring in a guy who's going to he has the final say and basically just tells Shanahan, these are the guys that I'm getting for you, and you need to make it work. Or, these are the guys I think work in your system. Now you have to go out and prove it.
I do think that this, in a vacuum is the best solution. But I feel like it's kind of hard to do now. I think if you hire the general manager first and he hires the head coach and they're all in for that power dynamic before they start the relationship, it can work like it does in LA. But once you try to kind of like arrange the marriage after the fact, I wonder if you fire John Lynch and tell Kyle, like, look, Kyle, we're taking away personnel power. You had a certain amount of personnel power. Now we're bringing in whoever, and he's going to, tell you who fits your offense. And because you thought you knew which wide receivers you wanted, but you drafted Brandon Ayuk and you drafted Dante Pettis and da 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 da. So now you don't know anymore. And we're going to bring this guy in and you're going to work with him. Does Kyle seem like the kind of guy who'd be like, sir, yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'll go along with it. Or he's going to be like, oh, someone's going to tell me which quarter. I mean, Tom Sula would go along with something like that. But Kyle, that's rich. I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
No, I don't think he'd go. No, it would cause.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it would cause more rocky roads going forward.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, It's kind of what they set up between Chip Kelly and Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke wasn't going to listen to Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly resented the hell out of that because he puts together his teams in college and he thinks he knows. Obviously, that was a terrible. So I feel like it's tempting, but it's ultimately a situation that Jed has set up before and supposedly supposed to have learned from. So I'd be interested to know if they do that. They might, but it'd be hard to pull off. Other side of the coin, if the 49ers miss the playoffs, should they trade Kyle Shanahan? Premise here is that Raiders traded John Gruden and got a couple first-round picks. I think they got a couple twos, too. Kyle Shanahan theoretically is very valuable. The Niners don't have first-round picks in the next 2 years. Trading is better than firing. They could do this in addition to firing John Lynch, or instead of firing John Lynch. What do you think?
No, I like the fact that these are back to back. Go ahead and fire John Lynch. Bring in a guy that's going to hire his own guy because you're going to trade Kyle Shanahan to pick up the 2 first-round draft picks that you just gave up for a quarterback that he might not even wanted to have in the first place.
Yeah.
So
it seems to be. Here's what I would do. That's the new GM's decision. You bring in a strong GM that you respect, and it's up to him. You can either keep Kyle because you value him and you respect him, or you can trade him and get someone else and start over. Not my choice. That's the GM's choice. If I were the general manager, though, I think I would do it. I want those picks, and I think there are other coaches. Now, I would make up my mind now. I'd like to see how Kyle Shanahan finishes the year. But again, if he finishes it well and makes a playoff, no one's getting fired. So this is a future, a hypothetical future where they go 7-10, and yeah, maybe I might fire him at that point. If he goes 7-10 this year, I think I might. I think there are a lot of coaches out there with good systems who have a track record of actually developing young quarterbacks who would probably want this job if they had those first round picks. So
hey, yeah, there's one in Buffalo, right? I mean, he's done a pretty good job with
Carolina. There's 3 right off the top. Let's listen real quick because I think the main apprehension that people have here is that, okay, you get rid of Kyle Shanahan. Now you're relying on Jed York to hire someone. He's never done it. He's really never gotten it right. And so there's like a really good chance he's going to blow it. True. That is true. But now Zach and I are going to make the move. So let's help Jed. 5 names he should be monitoring the rest of the season. Daboll, the enemy,
the guy in Carolina.
Joe Barry, whatever his name is. Joe Brady.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3.
Who else is there?
Is there someone in Arizona? All of a sudden, that Arizona.
What about the offensive coordinator that's with Seattle now? I mean, he comes from the.
Shane Waldron.
Yeah, he comes from. There's very little change up there with the offense in that case.
And then one guy from college. How about the dude in Oklahoma?
Sure, that's one name to look at. Or there's a guy.
Right there for you, Jed.
There's the guy. There's a guy at Michigan that had some success with the 49ers in the NFL.
There's a guy at UCLA who I think has got some forward-thinking ideas. He might.
Yeah, but at least the guy at Michigan actually won games in the NFL. I mean, we talk about how
would it take to get Jim Harbaugh back in the organization? What kind of apology would Jed York have to do?
Could you imagine the letter that would be? Oh my goodness!
Well, I don't think a letter would get it done. It would have to be very public.
Yeah,
and it would be very embarrassing.
I really blew it. I don't.
I'm so sorry.
It's all my fault that we got rid of the only coach that's actually won back-to-back seasons with us since we took over the team.
Okay, I got one more follow-up topic, and then we will take all the questions that I've been ignoring, I promise. But these all flow. Will the 49ers make the playoffs this year?
I don't think so.
Woo!
I don't think so.
Zach. That's rough. That's rough.
I mean,
hard to disagree, though.
Yeah,
I want them to make the playoffs. I just want to say I don't root for the 49ers, but I think I would get more hits this year if they made the playoffs. So I'm all in on a playoff appearance. I want to cover a team in January. Come on, man. It's been a while.
No kidding. I'd like
playoffs.
I'd like to have them have a home playoff game or just make the playoffs too. That'd be nice.
That'd be great.
But I don't know when there's a lot of things in front of them right now, because if they lose especially they lose on Sunday, now you got 3 losses in the NFC, 2 in the NFC West, and last week was a must win, and they played about as good as they could for a half, and they were only up 7. They were tied 7-7.
And Jimmy's hurt. Hold on, here's why I'm starting to feel like this team may not make the playoffs. Everyone's talking about 2019 vibes. 29, it killed me. As if all those injuries last year were just some type of weird fluke, kind of like the pandemic, and you can't predict it. And why would you predict it to happen again? Like, you just have to be a hater to predict it to happen again. And look, it's happening again, Jack. We're 4 games in, and let me just run down the list of players who are out: Raheem Mostert, Jason Verrett, Dre Greenlaw, Jeff Wilson Jr., Tavarius Moore, Justin School, K'Wan Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Josh Norman, Robbie Gould, Kevin Givens, Jalen Hurd, JaMychal Hasty. Those are the guys who are out. And then you got guys who are hurt but playing, but not 100%. Jimmy Garoppolo, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Alex Mack, definitely not Khalil Mack, Javon Kinlaw, D Ford. It's the same team as last year. It's 4 games in. It's an injury-prone team that gets injured. Why did we think something else was going to happen? And I don't want to hear the injury excuse in year 5. You can't make that excuse anymore. I'm getting the feeling that it's going to be another injury year. Sorry.
Yeah. So many of these guys, the guys that aren't rookies that are on that list that you just read off, are all guys that were hurt last year for the 49ers, brought back, and everybody was.
Dude,
there's
like 17 players right now.
Oh yeah, and there's a fan.
3 more next week. I'm sorry, you can't say stuff like that. I'm not rooting for it. I'm not predicting it, but that's the pattern. It's 4 players every week.
Oh yeah, no, you're right, and these are all the guys that so many people were so excited that this is a great move by the 49ers to bring back Jason Verrett on such a cheap deal. That's a great, that's an awesome job for the 49ers to bring back Trent Williams and make him the highest paid left tackle in the history of the league. That's a great job of over and over again with these guys.
How did they possibly do this? They brought their core back again. Yeah, the core that got hurt last year, the core that went 6-10 last year. We're just acting like last year didn't happen. And now, you know what? They were 2-1 last year. And then they were 2-2. And then they were 2-3. It's kind of funny how things repeat themselves like that. The Niners, you bring back the same team, the same problems happen. So funny to me. I mean, it's not funny. It's like tragicomic.
Yes. It is.
It's tragicomedy, dude. Mm-hmm. An injured team thought injuries wouldn't happen to him again. Well.
By doing the same thing.
Well. Hey, look, if Jed York does bring in a new regime at the end of this year, the new regime, the first thing they address in their interview with Jed and their interview with the press is, how are we going to get a more durable team? Because this injury thing has been going on for a decade, and it's spanned multiple regimes, and it's the most frustrating thing a fan can have to deal with. They don't want to hear this. Hey, we're the best team in the league on paper.
Oh yeah, the 49ers are the 49ers. I wrote that for all.
On paper
for the Sports Illustrated. The 49ers are one of the best teams if healthy. That should be their motto. If healthy, they should replace all the banners. Instead of "Faithful to the Bay," it should just say "If healthy."
If healthy, yeah, that's true. They actually have 7 rings. If healthy,
exactly. There you go.
Yeah, they should have 7 rings here. So will the Niners make the playoffs? They have a chance. It would require Jimmy Garoppolo getting healthy now, George Kittle getting healthy now, Trent Williams getting healthy and playing the rest of the year, or it would require a quick pivot to Trey Lance and him making rapid strides. And it's I think the cruelest thing about this season is it may not matter which quarterback they play. They have major issues that they had last year. They do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I agree. And tell me, I thought I saw this on at Twitter before the season started. Wasn't there somebody who was saying that the 49ers would be better off in the playoffs with Trey Lance than if they had Jimmy Garoppolo? Wasn't that a tweet that was out there? And a lot of people jumped on that, and they were like, "Yeah, I agree with that." And then what's funny, it's just funny because now you see a lot of the same folks are saying, "I just play Lance. They're not going to be a Super Bowl team even if they have Lance playing. Either way, just let him get his reps." It's an interesting.
Funny how the tone changes after 2 straight losses.
It does.
It's October 5th. I love football, man. You try to have these type of like code blue discussions in May of the baseball season. People look at you like, dude, you haven't watched this sport before, have you? And that's the right thing to say. You kind of have to relax. But in football, you just lost 2 games. Woo! Shut it all down. I don't know if we're going to be able to make it to next week.
Yeah, it's that's the difference between having one game and 106 or 16 and 162 or 17.
And that's why the NFL is the king sport in America, because they play less games, and the games mean more. It's more like pay-per-view fighting than it is. We'll just turn on throwing some pitches, and maybe he'll get hit by the ball. Although you don't want to see that, but like honestly, people watch sports for the violence most of the time.
It's appointment TV because it's one day a week, 3 hours, makes it much easier than a team baseball where they're playing maybe 7 games. That's a lot of time. Yeah,
and you don't want to see someone get hurt, but you don't. I mean, why do people slow and look down at accidents and stuff? When people can't help themselves. Did something happen? I don't want to know, but I gotta know. I'm looking. It's just what it is. Sorry, football, good sport. I like to cover it. Okay, last topic, and then we're taking questions. Who will be the Niners starting quarterback in 2022? Will it be Jimmy Garoppolo, the handsome man from Chicago? Or will it be Trey Lance, the precocious kid from where's he from?
Minnesota.
I don't know. Minnesota.
Marshall, Minnesota.
Or will it be door number 3? Who is the mystery man behind door number 3? Will it be mystery man behind door number 3? I'm not even going to say who it is. We don't know yet. What are they going to do?
I think I know your answer. I like your answer, but I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be Trey Lance.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's what we're all expecting here. I think
Yeah.
Doesn't really seem like they're preparing him for the transition, although there's still time. I just can't help but the whole thing with Aaron Rodgers was very interesting to me. There was like this flurry of reports before the draft. The Niners tried to make that last minute move, and then it went away. And you're like, all right, well, they didn't get him. And then it came back up again last week when the Niners played the Packers, and Mike Silver said there's definite bad blood, pretty much, between these two head coaches. And you're like, really? Isn't that old news? And then you saw after the game they wouldn't really look at each other, and you're like, oh, this is ongoing. This is still alive. And it occurred to me, like, the issue with the Packers and Rodgers isn't over. I mean, it's not like he was like, I don't want to be here. And they're like, well, you can't go. And he's like, okay, well, I'm back. And it's great to be. This is going to be an issue next year, too. And I don't know how it works out. And I don't follow the Packers. But is Kyle thinking here, like, I'm not done with this. I'm going to make one more attempt next year because I don't like Trey Lance. And I don't like Jimmy Garoppolo. And I don't like John Lynch, anyone here. I'm doing what I want to do.
It could definitely be something that they could work out if I believe he's going to be a free agent, right? Because of the way they redid his contract. Rodgers?
I don't know.
Is
something brewing here?
What's that?
I don't know. If he could be a free agent, because honestly, if he could be a free agent, this might be his pick, right? Where else is he on the West Coast?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I think that the way they redid it, he's a free agent at the end of this year, or he could get out of it, or something like that. I mean, yeah, if he was willing to come over to the 49ers on a cheap deal, then yeah, sure.
And then Trey Lance again. You could 2-point conversions. That's why we got him. He's the best at running 2-point conversions.
Either that, or maybe the 49ers trade Kyle Shanahan to Jacksonville, get the first pick in the draft, for the next 2 years.
Oh, Urban Meyer over here.
No. They do that, and then they use those first round picks to get the quarterback out of Green Bay if they have to use draft picks to get him.
The reason I'm asking this, I know it sounds dumb, but look, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be in Green Bay, if Aaron Rodgers wants to come back to the West Coast, if the Rams don't have an opening, we know the Niners wanted Rodgers a couple of months, like hours before drafting Trey Lance. Kyle Shanahan has nothing particularly nice to say about Trey Lance. I wouldn't rule it out. Now, and honestly, if they pull it off, I wouldn't be mad at it. Like, you got Aaron Rodgers, great. Now you might actually win a freaking Super Bowl. Nice. Because I like Trey Lance, but there's no guarantee he wins a Super Bowl based on what we've seen so far. I mean, he looks like Colin Kaepernick right now. And Kaepernick came close. But this is going to take some time. If you could get Aaron Rodgers, hey, man, fine. It worked for Tampa Bay.
No, that's why this is a fun conversation to have, because I know there was a lot of folks, and I was on the opposite side of you on this one, and I was wrong on the whole Tom Brady thing. If you can get Aaron Rodgers and have him come to the 49ers, that'd be a fun year or two.
It would not be a bad problem to have. You could keep Trey Lance and let him, really season. You could age him in fine oak barrels, and he could come out tasting much more balanced with more terroir and earth, as opposed to just the fruit forward taste that you get when you drink wine too young, as you understand. Anyway, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback for the team next year. What do you think?
Okay, I was thinking more of like smoking some meat on your thing, and you just put it in there and you let it cook, marinate for a couple hours while it cooks nice and slow. Yeah, no, it works. It'd be fantastic to have one of the best quarterbacks in the league running your offense. I mean, the NFL is a quarterback-driven league. If your quarterback is one of the top, you have a good chance of getting into the dance every year.
And if you can land Aaron Rodgers after missing on Mahomes, Watson, Brady, Stafford, Watson again, Rodgers, if you can finally, then great. Good for you. Niner fans will like you again. Just bring the Super Bowl here. You lost it. Bring it in. Yeah. You can do it. All right, let's answer some questions. Anthony Adams, the former 49ers defensive tackle, who's now a hilarious television personality, goes by the name Spice, says there's a play Jimmy had JJ one-on-one on a post, but forced it to double-team Kittle. Leave me alone. His fear of going deep, that does not say groin, puts a cap on our offense, pun intended. I haven't watched the coach's film yet, but yes, there is a limitation to Jimmy's skill set. It puts a limitation on the offense. Yep, that exists. Still, though, he can execute sometimes. Although, Anthony.
Yeah, I don't know what this play is yet because we haven't seen it, and I don't remember seeing it during the game.
Imagine the headlines if Trey Lance pulled a Kaepernick against the Bears in 2012.
I think that's where you're going with this originally, when you were talking about Lance and how you felt like he played against Kaepernick played against the Rams, and how Lance and they were similar there, that you think that he could come out and do that. And I understand that thought process for sure.
The difference, though, is that 2012 Bears defense, from what I remember, was nothing special.
No, they weren't like the Rams.
No,
for sure. Or the Cardinals, excuse me.
Cardinals, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Trey heats up after a couple drives every time I see him play. Playing time seems to really help him. Are you guys noticing this too? Great show. The thoughts crossed my mind. I also felt I saw the same thing in practices. Like, he would really miss his first throw every day. By a lot.
Yeah, I remember you had mentioned that during training camp. I think that I don't remember him necessarily having that problem in college. Maybe that's part of it, or maybe part of it too is kind of what I've been saying. Maybe it's that when he's playing in the beginning, and whether it was preseason or this week, the beginning of the games are usually against the tougher competition, and as the competition wore off during training camp and the preseason, and the defenses got worse, he played better. And the Seahawks played softer on that last drive, and so he played better. I don't know. He threw a touchdown pass on his first throw in the NFL, so I'm not sure if we can go there.
Yeah, hard to say. I guess what I noticed from Derek Carr early in his career was he always seemed overamped in the first quarter, and he improved on that as he got older. I think it's something sometimes with these quarterbacks who play at Fresno State or North Dakota State. It's a big difference playing between, before in front of that crowd and the NFL crowd. And it's not that big of a difference when you're coming from Ohio State or Alabama. I mean, that's a very professional style atmosphere. So maybe there is a little bit of like adrenaline, not like nerves, but just like, whoa, like I need to calm down. And in football, you calm down eventually. It's a long game. You get hit, you get tired. I didn't play, but I've heard these things that you eventually calm down. So something to keep in mind. I don't think we have enough evidence to really make a determination.
No, I don't think so yet. But everything you said, you got quarterback. A lot of times just depends on who the guy is. He might want to get hit a couple times before he really gets in the flow of the game.
It was definitely a thing with Derek Carr. Gary says Trey had almost the same stats as Russell, rushed more yards in that last half than Russell the whole game. It's true. If you take away like the completion percentage and those kind of things, but just raw stats, passing, rushing, touchdowns, very similar, which is one way to look at it. And why not? I like being positive on a 21-year-old kid making his debut. I'm only going to save the hard stuff for Trey Lance when he's a little older. He hasn't really grown into it yet, but it's coming. It's coming. You can't be the Niners starting quarterback and get away unscathed. I mean, it's a tough job.
That's right.
You got a lot of criticism, but not yet. Not yet. He's got to wait about 3 weeks, and then he'll have his bar mitzvah, and then he'll be of age.
There you go.
Yeah. Double B Studio says Trey was doing the warm up of holding the ball in the pocket for a long time, like in training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I put on YouTube how much I hate that drill, and I got people like arguing about it. Now it's a thing.
Now I really get what he's like. Yeah. Oh, that's a really good.
That's the worst thing you could practice. Can we stop every day?
That might be one of the better comments that we've had today, because that's pretty spot on.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Kyle only planned for Jimmy. He left Trey out in the middle of the sea and told him to swim back. No backup plan. What an image. That was really, you're a good writer, Donald. I like that. That was good. Good.
Yeah.
I have no idea what Kyle Shanahan is planning. I feel like he gave us a window into his mind for like 3 or 4 years, and he's cut it off, and he's just giving us red herrings left and right, and he's messing with us. And I don't know why. I just want to understand, Kyle. Can you help me understand, please? Because I'm lost.
Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't understand either, and that's why he's doing it.
Throw me a freaking bone here.
There you go.
Jeez. Dennis McCrae says, "Here's $5." A lot of people didn't know that's Mike Myers as Dr. Evil. He was, though. He did all the. Yeah, it was definitely Michael Myers. Need to let Lance start so Jimmy can heal and not get re-injured. Rather lose this game and get back Jimmy than lose anyways and get. Yeah, that's what happened last year. They rushed him back. He got hurt and they lost him for the whole year. I mean, what if he could be 100% healthy after the bye?
Right. Yeah. No, and that could be the case. And that's where we're talking about, maybe are they just kind of throwing that out there that he's going to be able to play to throw off Arizona, and it's really going to be Lance, and then you let Lance go out, and if Lance blows it out, then he stays in, but if he struggles, you got Garoppolo coming back healthy. So that's a really good, DJ puts a really good one out there.
Because remember, Harbaugh had the same situation, and it's a delicate situation because if you make the wrong call, if you make a call, you could split the locker room more than it already is. So what Harbaugh did was he let Alex Smith keep the job as long as he could. He got hurt, and he surprised everyone by starting Colin Kaepernick that game. And he didn't say, Colin's my new starter.
Nope.
He said, Alex just isn't healthy yet. He's not ready, and we're going to see what happens. And then when Colin Kaepernick tore it up, he didn't say Colin's my new starter.
Nope.
He said, we're going with the hot hand. So it's like, well, let's see if Kaepernick can keep going. And I reserve the right to say, you know what? Alex is healthy again. And this was never a transition, even though it was totally, it could have been. But if Kaepernick had all of a sudden come back to earth, you reserve the right to go back. And it doesn't seem wishy-washy. Shanahan could follow the same script.
Yep, totally. 100%.
Raymond says he put himself on the hot seat by presenting a team that he said he believed is Super Bowl contenders so far. So for most fans, that's the expectation, he said.
Absolutely.
It's true. He raised the bar on himself, which is always dumb. You want to lower the bar on yourself. We're not going to be good this year, guys. I don't know why you think we're going to be good.
No, all the talk was how this team was as close to 2019.
He should have shut that. He should have shut that down.
He tried to. Remember, he tried to do that at the state of the franchise.
Yeah,
he tried to walk that back.
Having it though. He was like, "Nah, I've been here. I felt fine. Sorry, it's too late. I felt it." Omar says maybe the Niners should hire Nick Mullins as quarterback coach, offensive consultant. Lance would be better prepared with Mullins. Can we not?
I don't disagree.
Mullins yet? Can we not? He's in the league somewhere, I think.
He's in Cleveland, but I wouldn't. That's one of the reasons I wanted Mullins to be here as the third guy. I want him to be in the quarterback room to be the mentor to whoever the rookie was that they brought in.
What an gratuitous, unnecessary shot at Nate Sudfeld. I won't stand for it. You're telling me that you can't see the effect that Nate Sudfeld has had on Trey Lance's Jimmy Garoppolo? Why do you think Jimmy Garoppolo played so well the first?
It was Nate Sudfeld? Was that what it was?
That's the new yes.
Well, that's the other part that's interesting with this whole thing is with having to build different offenses per se for Trey Lance versus Jimmy Garoppolo is that they have three different quarterbacks in their room, and only one of them plays this style. If you want to say it's a style, is they had a starter who
say it's a style. Ooh, Jack, I love you, man. You're hilarious to me. Your preference. I think with quarterbacks, everyone has a preference. There's style preferences. And you're old school. I like that, man. I'm trying to go all new school. I'm all in with the mobile quarterback. I love that.
I'm cool with
Trey style.
I'm cool with Lance, but what I'm saying in this situation is if you're going to do that, and if that's your excuse, now this is mostly coming from fans, not from Garoppolo or from Shanahan at this point, but then shouldn't your quarterback be somebody like, I don't know, Mitch Trubisky, who can kind of run the same offense regardless, and then it's an easier transition for everybody on the team? If you
wanted someone like Mac Jones, I don't know, or Kirk Cousins.
Didn't Mac Jones just almost beat?
Mac Jones looks really good. Look.
Didn't he almost beat Tom Brady?
Mac Jones and Trey Lance are on the opposite ends of the quarterback spectrum. Mac Jones, polished, well coached, lacking athletic upside. Athletic gifts to the max, no polish. What do you want? What do you want in a quarterback? If you want Mac Jones, take Mac Jones. If you want Trey Lance, don't complain about it because there are good things about him, right? Like,
there's totally.
You bring him in, you're like, oh my God, he's not polished. Well, this isn't going to work. Well, what were you expecting, man? Come on. Oh my God.
Look at that. I got Grant almost knocked his camera off.
Don't make me walk around like I had to walk around after the game because I just had to take a walk after the game. Okay. All right. Okay. Kent says fans got us, Lance. Fans will get Kyle fired. Amen. Yeah, fans have the ultimate power here. And all we're trying to do is sort of get you riled up so we can sort of have the ultimate power. Sorry. Yeah. Timothy says Trey is smart, studious, and hardworking. Agree. Why then does it look like he's uncomfortable in that offense? Head coach has to win and develop a quarterback. Or delegate, man. Get a better quarterback coach. I've been saying that. Rich Scangarello, no one wants him. That's your guy. How about your dad had Greg Knapp? No. Yes. No. Greg Knapp died. Rest in peace. Gary Kubiak. He had Gary Kubiak. Guy was great. Where's your Gary Kubiak, Kyle?
Yeah, he doesn't have that one, and that's the deal too. Gary Kubiak was a backup quarterback in the NFL, so he knew what that job entailed.
That's right. You got to get Nick Mullins you got to pay him, man. Be like, what are they paying you? I will double it to be on my coaching staff. I'll give you $1 million to be my quarterback coach.
Doesn't he seem like a guy that would be a coach? Like it would be a very good coach. Just who cares about what he does on the field, but just his knowledge of the game. Doesn't he seem like he'd be a really good coach?
I do think he would be a really good coach too. I also think he's a natural leader and could end up being a head coach. But he's 25. I mean, let's not end his career yet. Let's not put him on the retirement line just yet. Project 6 says, do you think Kyle thinks that Lance is not cerebral enough to absorb the Shanahan system? Great work, Grant. Keep up the good work. I think he thinks it takes everyone a year and a half to learn his system and the yada, yada, yada. And, that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think he likes Lance.
I think he likes Lance. I think that he believes it's going to take him a little bit of time, and that's why they weren't starting him right away. And the difference I think between because I know that we all talked about 2012 when he played, but in 2012 with Washington, I don't think they had a guy that they could turn to. I think they were stuck playing one of the two rookies that they had.
True.
So that's why
they had the previous year. They had like John Beck.
Yeah, or Donovan McNabb. Might have been McNabb at one point. Yeah.
So they didn't exactly. Can Billy Beane be the Niners' new GM? He did draft Kyler. God, no. Oh, Billy Beane and Parag on the same team. This team would spend like $8 on players. No.
Maybe they can get Farhan.
Ooh, yeah, he's doing pretty good. Jeff says they should just hire us. How How many good suggestions? How many days do I have to wear this in a row? Jeff says, what's the chances they would fire Lynch and hire a new GM? New GM brings in an OC for Kyle. He'll be looking for you Sunday, Grant. They have an OC, Mike McDaniel. We did talk about this. I hope you liked our answer. There's a significant chance they would do this. We do think it's something that Jed would try to do. Looking at the league, it's hard to find a good head coach. It is hard to find a good head coach. Teams whiff a lot. They really do. It's hard.
It is. It's hard if you're. I
mean, Jed has never found one. Jed found one.
He found one. He found one and then fired him after 3 straight winning seasons and never having a losing season.
And you know what? This is what you get. You ran off a winner. You acted like it was that easy to find a winner. Like you didn't win to your liking. The style at which he won wasn't okay. Well, now you're back to wandering in the desert. It's like God brought you to the gates of Israel and you were like, I don't know. I was kind of hoping for the Bay Area. He was like, all right, well, walk to the Bay Area then. We will. If you can find a way to walk to the Bay Area from the Middle East, you're more than welcome to get there. It's going to take some time. Jed have to invent some things along the way. Maybe. Yeah. Anyway.
Jed's kind of like Jerry Jones, right? You had a couple of good seasons and then without the Super Bowl trophies, put it that way. Yep. Jones had a heck of a start to his time in Dallas and fired the only coach that actually was good for him.
Yep. And what's interesting is you think of Jed being a young man, like, well, he got the team so young, and he's made a lot of mistakes, but he's still young. He'll figure this out. How old was Eddie D when he hired Bill Walsh? Like 35?
Yeah, right around the same age.
35. So it's not a question of experience or age. Like these decision-making things, we talk about it a lot with Kyle. It's like something that some people are good at or not. Do you like making decisions? Do you make good ones? And there are certain people who just do that really well. And they often find themselves in positions of management and leadership in life. They're not necessarily the smartest person on the team. They just like making decisions. And Kyle, I'm not even saying he's a bad decision maker. He doesn't like making decisions. Tom Brady calls him up and says, let's do this. And he's like, I'll get back to you. What are you talking about, man? Make a freaking decision. I don't think he likes it. I don't think he wants to do it. I think it gives him anxiety. And I think some people just are naturally like, I don't really always like making decisions. Sometimes I'd like someone else to be the leader. Some people are natural leaders. I'm a writer. I don't have to lead. Although now that I have a YouTube channel, it kind of puts me in that position sometimes. And it's hard. I understand, Kyle. But some people live for that. So you know people like that.
Definitely.
I get to make a call? Great. And I'm not going to second guess myself, even if I'm wrong. There's people like that. Anyway, Kyle's not one. I'm sorry. Seahawks game proved we will miss the playoffs. We shut down Seattle and Kyle couldn't score. Kyle needs to go. Lynch is not calling the plays. Kyle is. Yeah, that Seattle game was really that was troubling because the loss to Green Bay was they should have won. Like this game against Seattle was, I mean, you could say maybe they win if Jimmy doesn't get hurt, but I don't know.
You got that. You got
times he's played that team.
Yeah, and you have the missed field goal because you have your punter having to kick the ball, and you kicked it straight. It's just the ball was on the left hash, but whatever. So that's instead of having 10, you're at instead of being at 10, you're at 7, and then I think that they were running the ball really well, and that flea flicker throwback pass to Garoppolo, I think that was a bad moment in the game because that setup put them behind the chains for really one of the first times that they had been behind the chains in the whole game. They end up punting the ball there, and then you have Trenton Cannon roll into the end zone from the 5-yard line with the ball. And so instead of having it inside the 5, Seattle's out at the 20. The very next play is a 20-yard completion of the running back, and the game completely changes.
Louis Riddick would be a great GM. He'd be someone I'd be interested in interviewing. Bring him in, see what his plan is, see what his vision is, see what he thinks about Trey Lance. I'd love to hear what he thinks. Yeah. Another TV guy, though. You might want to actually bring in. I know he has.
Well, that's why his name comes up.
He's a TV guy. Lynch was a TV guy. I'm not writing him off, but I'll bring him in. I'll interview him. Anthony C. says Riddick for GM and Scott McCloughan is top scout. McCloughan, I definitely respect McCloughan too. These are interesting names. I like the way you guys are thinking. Proactive, not emotional. Just got to have some names. It's got to be on your radar.
Seemed like the 49ers did a much better job drafting when he was around, and same thing with Seattle when he was up there.
That's true. Kyle Green says we don't need to trade Kyle. We need to trade Jimmy G and another player for a younger corner. We also need a different offensive coordinator.
You hit on this, Grant. You hit on this after the game.
Yeah.
The offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator both being rookies, and that's might be part of the issue of what's going on with this team too.
Absolutely. I don't think you're trading Jimmy this year. No one has the cap space to bring him on now. I think the idea was if he had a 2019 season where he doesn't get hurt and play, puts up the numbers he always puts up, then you could trade him next year when the cap goes back up. But he's hurt, so we'll have to see if that can happen.
Yeah.
Imagine Lance with first-team reps all week. Get it? I would like to see it. I'd like to see that, and I'd like to see an aggressive play-action downfield game plan like they had for Kaepernick in his first start, like we got a glimpse of in Lance's first action against in the preseason. I'd like to see that because he's not going to be terribly efficient on the short stuff. You got to have that in there too, but come on.
Yeah,
we see something that you wouldn't call for Jimmy, please.
maybe a
Jimmy
little.
Can operate the Jimmy stuff better than Lance. There's no question, but there are certain things Lance can do that Jimmy doesn't do well. Do those things, please, Kyle.
There's a lot of things that Trey Lance can do well that Jimmy does well. It's just a matter of him. Maybe it's a matter of him getting into the game and getting in the flow of a game.
Yeah, true. We haven't seen 4 quarters of Lance yet.
No, and when you watch what they used, how they utilized him in North Dakota State, the passing game's all very similar to the 49ers and things that they do. The schemes are all the same. The difference is like when they're running the leak, for example, where the guy, the tight end, like the Kittle leak kind of play, is that you can really roll Lance out and really stretch the defense because he can maybe roll out a little bit further and he's going to get out on the edge a little bit more to create that space for Kittle down the sideline, stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
San Fran 49er fan says the only thing this team has in common with 2019 is Hurd is Who? I vaguely remember that guy. Rehab Revenge Tour. Hey, back to back. Thank you, man. That's good. I like that. Moving right along. We're like a half hour back. You guys.
Yeah, these things don't stop.
No, they don't. Thank you for bearing with me, Jack.
No, this
we'll be done soon. I think Lance would flourish under Harbaugh. I'm worried about his development with Kyle Shanahan. Sunday's game will show if Kyle Shanahan is the right coach for him. I think Harbaugh would do a good job with Lance too.
Yeah,
I think he
too.
would.
Mm-hmm.
Because, look, I don't know what his scheme. He would have to bring in. He doesn't have a scheme. He had Greg Roman. He'd bring in someone. But what Harbaugh, he does a really good job of making that quarterback feel like he's the only quarterback in the world. You know what I mean? He's the best quarterback. He's like a good husband that says the right things to his wife. I love you. You're the greatest. You're the most attractive woman in the world. You got it all. Kyle's like, yeah, you could wear more makeup. I need to cut your hair. I don't like your hair at all. He's like that kind of guy.
That's a really good analogy. I'll think of that.
It's like you can't talk to your wife like that. You wonder why she hates you. Okay. Anyway, Harbaugh does a really good job of pumping up his quarterback, and it's really interesting. Honestly, that it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. But in an alternate universe, it would have been very interesting.
See, that's why people like you and they don't like me, because you're the guy who will be like, yeah, no, that's a good idea. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's awful.
Yeah. I like people's ideas, man. If it's compelling. See, I was an English major, and you don't have to be right. All you have to do is be compelling. So if someone's compelling, I'm compelled.
Sure.
I like being compelled.
Uh-huh.
It's a good feeling. All right, hold on. We got a few more. 304. Okay. All right, here we go. Real question. Who is coaching the Niners in 2022?
We gave you a list of 5 names a little bit earlier.
Dude, God help Jed York if he has to do another search. Here's the thing. What I want to say in all seriousness.
Chris Kocurek.
Denise, if you're watching and your son clears house, don't let him hire anyone else. He's hired enough people. Count how many people you've let him hire and then subsequently fire. You need to bring in someone else to make this, to lead the search and make the hire. Outsource it. Denise, I'm serious. That's not a joke at all. Like, you can't let your son do this anymore. You gave him 15 years to hire and fire people. It's not his skill set. I know you love your son and you want to empower him, but you did. He failed. That's it. Fair? Denise? Please? DRB says if Lance objectively played quarterback poorly, yet our offense still doubled the point score from the first half, isn't that a good thing? He'll only improve. That's what I see. He's not a quarterback. He's a playmaker. That's cool with me because to me, Kaepernick was a playmaker. Lamar Jackson is a playmaker. Kyler Murray is transitioning to quarterback, still primarily a playmaker, could be the MVP. You need to be a quarterback when you're making $27 million a year. At that point, you got to be a quarterback. But on your rookie deal, when you're 23, man, there's a million ways to skin a cat. Just go out there and be the best athlete in the field and don't turn the ball over. That's all I'm saying. Pretty much. And we'll have a great – and it's on us to have a great defense and run game because we're not paying you. We should be able to put together a really good team around you. That's that formula. And Arizona's doing it, and I like it because it gets me excited. That's the formula. Anyway, good for Steve Keim. Jeremy says, it's starting to feel like Shanahan doesn't dream big enough. I can't help but compare him to Sean McVay. It's like he needs to play Madden. I think he should probably play Madden.
Yeah.
That's
there you
the problem.
go.
Next time I see Kyle, I'm like, when was the last time you played Madden? Well, there you go. Right
there you go. Tomorrow's press conference, you can ask him that. That could be the first question.
People will be so mad at me. Mikey says, Jimmy has no deep ball. Can't win with dinks and dunks. It's hard. I think you got to at least – the thing about Lance, and it may all be a mirage, but defenses will react to him differently. And I like, as an offensive coordinator, I like that defenses, the way that they theoretically will react to Trey Lance. Because they're showing my starting quarterback no freaking respect. He's the Rodney Dangerfield of quarterbacks. As raw as he is, Trey Lance in rhythm will be a problem for NFL defenses. Excited for film review this week. Start Trey. Yeah, when you're that athletic, it doesn't have to be that hard. He's never going to be beating teams without his legs. He's not going to be able to stand still in the pocket and beat teams until he's 28, maybe. But you don't have to. You don't have to play that way. Play your way. Don't be Tom Brady. Be you. Be you.
That's a great message, Grant.
Be yourself, Trey. Yeah, dude. You can't stand still and beat teams, but you don't have to. There's no rule against moving. Mm-hmm. Hey, Can't Bone. Do you remember when you said Cliff was scared of the Niners? Dude, I picked your team to go to the Super Bowl this year. Give me a break.
I know.
I really like the Cardinals, man. Give me a break.
Uh-huh.
And they're winning in spite of your coach. Just like the Bucks won the NBA championship in spite of Budenholzer. Max says, Jimmy injured again. May I remind everyone that Stafford played with an injured shoulder in 2009 against the Browns to win a game. It's called durability. Yeah. And it's a contusion. God, Kyle. See, this is why Harbaugh wouldn't say stuff. He'd be like, that's his business. I'm not saying what his injury is. Kyle's like, yeah, it's not that bad. He's fine. I'm in his time. He's fine. Whew. Their leadership instincts are opposite, Kyle and Jim, and a lot of things.
No, totally. Because he was all about the players. He protected the players at all cost.
Because he was a player.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle is a coach's coach. Grew up in a coach's family, played technically, and was a coach at 23. Coach's coach. Angelic Ambition says, I think special teams hasn't been talked about enough. Has been bad in the Shanny era. Is this on personnel or coaching?
It's coaching.
Yeah. Dude, kicking field goals with a punter was, wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Hard to really say much more about that than that. Trade Jimmy G before he injures himself again. Yep, too late.
He's already hurt.
Fine McLuhan and yeah. Yeah. I noticed that he's not in any team's front office. I wonder what's up with him. I've talked to him before. He's really interesting and generous. He may be the kind of guy that you bring in as a consultant for the draft. You may not have to have him on your team, but definitely call him up. For sure, I would call him up. If Trey plays this week, do we finally see more Ayuk and hope Kittle does? Will Kyle stop his passive play calling? Real quick with Ayuk, we saw it. They had to burn a timeout because he lined up incorrectly. I think that may be what's going on here. It's hard to see as a fan, like, who's missing assignments, but I think he's missing assignments.
Yeah, I think there's some stuff that's going on there.
Yeah.
And that to that effect that's causing him not to kind of have fallen out of favor with Shanahan. But to the question, you might see Ayuk be able to make some more plays because he's going downfield. And there's Ayuk's the one guy when you watch him play with Jimmy Garoppolo just does not seem like he wants to be on the field.
Good point. But again, if he's missing assignments, and you're going to call a shot, you're not going to call a shot for someone that you can't trust to be the right place at the right time. You'll call it for Sherfield. And remember, when people would talk about why they like Sherfield, like Garoppolo and Lance in the training camp, they would always say, "Well, he never misses an assignment." And it's a weird thing to say about someone. It's almost like saying, like, as opposed to that other guy over there,
yeah. And plus Lance had all of his deep throws, a lot of his deep throws to Sherfield in camp.
David says Scott McCloughan is widely regarded as the greatest living talent scout in the NFL. He built the Niners, then the Seahawks, then Washington. He drinks a lot, but so do I. Bring him back. I think the thing with McCloughan, he was always kind of like the number 2 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Nolan made the decision. He had the team as a general manager for maybe 1 year, and that draft I think was the Kentwan Balmer draft. So we talked about idea people, decision makers. He may be more of an idea person. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of it this way? But I don't know if he's necessarily the guy you want pulling the trigger. And I don't know. I haven't been in the war room with him. It's just something to consider.
Yeah, no, he'd be more of the guy that would be replaced. You bring him to, like, say, take out Adam Peters.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Easy Tino says, does Jimmy's contract have them over a barrel? I'm simply not understanding the dynamics here. You want him gone, now he's good to go. What's the thing about him, his contract being guaranteed next year if he's injured? What is that?
Yeah, if he's injured and can't pass a physical, his contract next year is guaranteed.
That's exciting. That's really exciting stuff. I hope that doesn't happen. Wow. Yeah.
I don't think he has them over a barrel because of his contract. I think he's just playing because they're trying to get. I think the thought process was they needed to give Lance some time to get up to speed.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious. Look, if they're basing readiness on how he operates the offense, he's not freaking ready, and that's on everyone there. But if readiness is how does the offense function with either quarterback in, I still think that chaos with Trey Lance is preferable to the structure they have with Jimmy Garoppolo. And maybe I'm wrong. All I have is one evidence, one half of one game where they were behind to prove it. So we'll have to find out down the line. But that's my suspicion. Okay. John says, who would want to GM this team with no picks? I think Kyle's fine. You can make a case we're 4-0. Some people have off weeks. We'll put the second half of the sentence aside, the first part of the sentence. Who would want to GM this team with no picks? It does complicate matters. It definitely does. I wonder if the Niners did that on purpose. Like, oh, you want to put us on the hot seat? Okay, well, we're just going to send in all our assets. And if you fire us, good luck getting someone with no first-round picks in the next 2 years. That's actually kind of clever. Oh, you want to get rid of me? Oh, well, let me use all of your assets. Those are my picks. Those are someone else's picks if you fire me. I'll go to Miami next year, and I'll get the picks back. How about that?
Yep.
Brian Flores might get fired. Oh, boom. Got my picks back. How you like that, Jed?
There you go.
Yeah, I feel that. But I don't think you can make the case they're 4-0. No, I'm not.
No, I don't think you can make the case they're 4-0. They're lucky to not be 1-3.
Ooh, when are we going to hold this staff accountable for putting together an injury-prone team? Shanahan's arrogance has cost the team a lot. Yeah, I think we all were hoping that they would put more emphasis on durability, but they ran it back. Preston Reynolds, 2 more. Doubt they make the change, but would love to see Beck or Lance's coach Quincy Avery as quarterback coach next year. I'm sorry, but what has Quincy Avery been able to accomplish?
Yeah, I have nothing against Quincy Avery, but he spent a year working with Trey Lance, and Trey Lance looks the same as he did before he started working with him.
Where is the play calling in 2021? Kyle's a legend. By legend, I mean myth. Like Bigfoot. We've all heard of it, but no one sees it. No, he's Haley's Comet. He comes around once every few years and is glorious. But that's it. And everyone's like, oh, it's because he never has his quarterback. Yeah, that's his fault. He doesn't know who his quarterback is.
That's right. That's right. No. He picks his quarterbacks.
And then he doesn't like them anymore. He's like the guy he's Jerry Seinfeld. He goes out with the girl like 2 times. He's like, we got man hands. I can't deal with this. It's like, really? That's the issue now. Jerry, you're on your 18th girlfriend this year. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like her. All right, what are you going to do? And then you laugh and the episode's over and you do it again next week. That's Kyle Shanahan, except with quarterbacks. It's not funny.
Yeah.
You should ask Kyle about the turnover issues since he took over. 2019 was the lone year with a plus differential at +4, and that was with an all-decade defense. Yeah. Well, that would be what? Discipline? That kind of stuff. It's a stark difference between the culture between the Niners and New England. The New England's kind of like, we're not going to be flashy. We're not going to be really worried about big plays. We're just not going to beat ourselves. You will. You'll beat yourself. The Niners are like, we are going to beat ourselves in the pursuit of trying to beat you. In an exciting way.
That's true.
Sometimes. Not to be too. The draft with Upati and Anthony Davis, that made Balky famous, was all scouted by McLuhan. Then Balky fired him, but used his entire draft board. Is that true?
I don't think Balky fired him, but he set the draft board that brought in Upati and Davis, and then because he was fired prior to that draft.
You're right. These are the last two. Why go through all this fuss? Should have kept Cap. If this was the case, Kyle will be gone and Trey will have no coach soon. Yeah, well, it's really interesting that you go from we don't want Cap because he doesn't fit our offense to hey, we got Trey Lance. What?
Oh, totally.
What? They're so similar, man. They're so similar.
They're very similar, and there was no reason you're going to move on from Colin Kaepernick, whatever, to Brian Hoyer. I mean,
what?
that's awesome, man.
So good, good. Yeah, I was genius. One could say. Joseph says use tight ends George Kittle and Ross Dwelly like Pats used to with Gronk and her. Why can't Dwelly get a second? Well, what does he have to do?
He's the best receiving tight end on the team.
He's a better option right now than Ayuk.
But he's a better receiver than George Kittle. George Kittle's better after the catch, but when it comes to catching the ball, Dwelly's a better receiver of the ball.
Better route runner, better hands, bigger. Thank you.
Stronger, faster.
Yeah, better attitude.
Yeah, I mean he's a really good player that gets no run at all. He's
not a super athlete, but he's a hell of a football player who constantly improves.
He's a really good number 2 tight end, and he's Kittle beats him out because he's a better blocker and those kind of things. He's a better all around tight end. That's why he's better. He's a better runner he's a better with the ball in his hands after the catch. But when it comes to actually running routes and catching the ball, Dwelly's better than him.
Yeah, and it's really fun throwing the ball to Debo and Kittle all the time. But if you're looking for a third guy, how about this guy? How about Dwelly? I'm just saying. I'm like his agent. I should get. No, I don't even think I'm good. I just want the satisfaction of watching Dwelly play because it's quite a fun experience.
Yeah, he's the real people's tight end. Come on now.
He really is. Kim, thank you very much. This show is comical, Jack. You losing mad respect right now. Grant is a clown, and you are part of this. Thank you very much, Wanda. That was very nice.
Wanda's funny because Wanda always is very nice to me on my YouTube channel, in the comments over there. So I don't know. Wanda, come back. It's okay.
Wanda, give me another chance. I like you, Wanda. Can we be friends? Come on, Wanda. You got me all wrong. All right, Jack, that's been 90 minutes. Thank you so much for giving me all your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. I look forward to getting together here and doing that film breakdown when it's ready to go.
Yes, absolutely. I'll get back to you guys on when the film breakdown is going to happen and when the next Cohn Zone is with my dad. I'll be back. Let you guys know. Take care, everyone. Wanda.